So I'm going to allow each of you some time to present a review, a kind of book review, something about one of your favorite books or a book that you would like to share with us. So I will try to get it between 5 and 10 minutes. It's not too strict, and then we can have some time for everybody to ask and answer questions on your book. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Who would like to go first today? Any volunteers?
Who is ready today?
If you like, I could start.
Yes.
Thank you, Andreas.
Yeah, I'd like to share the book, this book. It's in German, but it's also available in English. It's called, if you translate it literally, it's called "In the End, the Cedars Will Remain." The cedars, these trees known from Lebanon, for example. The translated version is called, it's just called the Storyteller, which is not so meaningful to me. I prefer the German title,
Yes.
but that's how it is. The author is Pierre Jarawan. It's a German author with, I think, Lebanese roots. It's his first novel, and it's all about, it's divided into two parts. The first part is about a boy, Samir, called Samir. He's 8 years old and is the son of refugees whom is granted asylum in Germany. It takes place in the 80s, and it's about Samir and his father in the first place. They have a very tight connection. There's a very very close bond between the father and the son, and the son Samir really adores his father. It's a father like you, or I would imagine. It's the ideal father who tells stories in the evening, good night stories, who goes out with the son, building some boats at the sea and talking a lot. And yeah, so it's really close. And the situation, there's one significant or one important situation when the family rediscovers some slides, some old photographs from the past. They're doing a slideshow at home, and there's one picture when it's shown, Samir feels kind of shock within his father and his mother. And the picture shows, it's a black and white picture, and shows his father standing in Lebanon near a militia man. So there was war at this time, and there were different parties and militias, weaponed militias, and he's standing beside this man, and there's must be something strange, and he's wearing a uniform and a symbol of the cedar on the uniform. So there must be a deeper meaning in this. And from that day, life changes for Samir and his family, his father receives strange calls from Lebanon. He doesn't want to talk about it. His father restrains himself from family, becomes more distant, and from one day to another, he simply disappears. He's gone, vanished, and this is really a shock for Samir. He's devastated, and yeah, this then his mother dies as well, and he always thinks it's he's guilty. It's his fault that his father left. So this is the end of the first part, and then the second part takes place about 20 years later, when Samir still struggles with the situation, and he still feels guilty for the disappearance of his father, and he doesn't. He has problems to live in a proper way. And so one day, Samir's girlfriend convinces him to go to Lebanon and to seek out for his father. And this is what he does. And he goes to Lebanon. He's only this one picture of his father, and is looking for hints of him. And yeah, in this part you get to know a lot of Lebanon and what the war did to people and to the country, and it's still the story of Samir and his personal development. And of course, I won't tell you if he finds the secret about his father, and if he is successful in finding his father. But it's very gripping and compelling, and also meaningful to me in the first place, because I'm a father as well, and I have a father, and it makes think about the connections we have and the meaning and the bonds between father and son. And on the other side, it, as I said, takes place in the 80s, and this is the time and that my mother was very engaged in caring about refugees in Germany, and so this is another connection this book makes vivid in me. So I really recommend The Storyteller from Pierre Yaravan. And meanwhile, he's published second novel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas. That was great, very interesting. Yes, oh, thank you. Okay, so yeah, I have some questions, but I will allow you to, Natasha or Larissa, would you like to ask any questions, first of all?
Just because it really had backed connection, some part of Andrea's speech I just missed, and so sorry. And just I'm now trying to connect with a mobile phone and without any Wi-Fi connection, so maybe it will be better. So because really so sad to say.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for trying to come back in. Larissa, do you have any questions?
Sorry for my possibly misunderstanding, but what was interesting for me? So the son one day opened the door for the previous life of his father. He was informed that he was a military man during the war on Lebanon, and according to the photos, he wanted to receive new truth about his father, and he went to Lebanon. Yes.
Yes, he went to Lebanon, and
yeah, and he was impressed of the lifestyle of people there. He was impressed of the consequences of the war actions, and he was impressed of the changing in his father too. I didn't understand. His father died during this war or not? He stayed at the Lebanon.
The picture is from the time before they came to Germany as refugees, and so the picture shows the past where there must have been some connection to militia or to this period, and it's just the point that this picture brings up some memories that are so meaningful to the father that he becomes very disturbed, and there happens a change in the father. They live a settled life in Germany. They have a lot of connections, so it's actually a normal and very harmonic life. But then this picture brings up some disturbing memory to the father in the first place, and then the father disappears, and this makes the son seeking out for the father, and he wants to find out the secret, what is the deeper meaning.
Thank you, Dave. I think that I need your help. Translate for me, please. What does it mean, refugees? I don't know.
A refugee is someone who is forced to flee from a country, usually because they are escaping perhaps war or persecution. And it comes from the word refuge, which is a safe place. They are looking for a safe place in another country. So they have this status. Sometimes they are also called asylum seekers. This is another term for this.
Okay, the same situation as we have now with Afghanistan country.
Yes,
some people
right.
don't want to live under the Taliban regime, and they try to find another way for living, some safe haven for them, and they calls like refugees. Yes.
Yes, right. They could also be called refugees. Would you add anything to that, Andreas?
No, it's correct, and there's also a right of getting asylum. It's written in the basic law, I think, and there's also the law of the United Nations that
human rights.
Yes, human rights that grants us the right of asylum, but of course, only if the circumstances are so that they had to flee.
Yes, it's not
They-
just a case that they want to. They might think you want to have a better life in another country, then you are
Yes.
just a migrant or an emigrant. But the refugee has the idea is that you are running away, you are fleeing from some kind of danger to
Yes,
your
life,
life.
exactly, danger to life.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm interested in the author, but perhaps we'll come. Natalia, how's your connection now? Is it working?
Oh, I'm really, really so upset. There is a second time yesterday, so I really cannot be. So
Okay,
really,
it
I
seems
just
to be much
my
better
my
now.
mood is going down and down. You really just so when then when the hands are really down and I don't know what to say, and so sometimes I'm really so upset, and then my mind is turning around. So just I'm thinking about how to keep this connection, and so for me it's really a disaster because there is second
Okay.
club and they have a really bad connection. And so I
Yeah.
really missed 15 minutes that I was I really heard on the beginning of the Andreas story, and then that was the stop. And so I tried to connect. And so, when your mind is really thinking about that and how it's getting me upset. So
Okay. All right. Well, it seems to be much better now. Hopefully, it will stay that way.
I don't know why, because I have a really good connection with internet. So just I watch, I don't know, I watch a lot of videos, and so it's okay. Maybe there is a problem with this platform. I don't know, because that's I sent you a screen. Then when you see there's that. So sometimes I see that how the signal is so poor, and so I have their notification that oops, you don't have a connection, and I don't hear at all.
Okay. Well, let's keep going. I would just
Maybe
like to ask about the
just to suggest maybe another browser.
I use Google and just really don't have any others, and so because it works good for other things, for TED Talks, for everything that for YouTube. Because I just really before the club I watched videos. It was okay. Just if I just notice that something is going down, but it's okay. So what's wrong? Because I try to do it to connect with my mobile phone without Wi-Fi connection, just only with the provider connection. But anyway, the same situation. Just my problem. My idea is only that maybe my platform is working bad here. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay, well let's move on. Hopefully it will stay. If there are recurring problems, I'll look at the platform. But I'd like to get back to the subject about the author here, because his name doesn't sound very German. It sounds more French. I'd like to ask: Is he Lebanese? Is he is he German himself, the author, or what's do you know much about him?
He is born in Jordan.
Right.
Jordan, but he's the son of a Lebanese father and a German mother. And the parents also had to flee from war. So this is very connected to him.
Yes, right. I imagine it must to tell such a story.
Yes, but it's true. It's really not a German name at all.
Okay.
And he's born 1985.
Okay. And have you read any other books? Has he written any other books that you've read or that you know about?
Yes, he published his second book half a year ago, and I'm at the moment I'm reading it. I read it.
Reading it, yes. Good.
I'm reading it parallel to many other books, so the speed is not the highest. But one day I will come to the end.
Okay, great.
But it's a great style for me. A very imaginative style of writing. A high speed, so not boring at all. So
Yeah, it sounds interesting, and it's obviously it has been translated into this Storyteller. Have
yes.
you had a look at any of the translation?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks very much. I think we can move on to the next person now. Who would like to go next? Larissa, would you like to go?
Okay, I want to add to tell not about the book, but about the situation in my life, because of course, I like to read books, and I like to read Russian books. I have a great respect for Russian authors, but now I try to spend my free time with my baby, and with my baby I like to read books, fairy tales. For example, I was very impressed creativity by Hans Christian Andersen, and I think that his stories, his fairy tales. This is a books which was famous, and these books were very popular in the childhood of every person around the world. But what is interesting for me, I think that now I try to read not only the creativity, not only books by this author, but also I try to read to know something for myself about personality of the author, and I was very impressed his personality, because he lived his life. When he was a small boy, he was born in the small town, in the small city Odense, near the Copenhagen in Denmark, in a very poor family. And the Denmark in these years was it was the middle of Napoleonic Wars, and the life of citizens in the Denmark was very difficult because they suffered from bad water supplement, bad malnutrition, and of course they were very vulnerable for these things. And as we speak about Hans Christian Andersen, when he was a little boy, he entered to the primary school, and after school, near the cathedral, he dreamed about being a prince and one day being very famous. So according to his stories, for example, Ugly Duckling, Snow Queen, Cinderella, and many others, we know that the story Ugly Duckling, this is the way of Hans Christian Andersen. This is his life. He described his own life in the story, because he was really ugly duckling when he was born in his family. He was a very emotional boy. He had very very slim voice. He had emasculate interests. For example, he liked to sewing and to play with dolls. So his mother protected him in his early years from other people, because she knew that her son is not immune for aggression of the adult people and other children. But when his father died, and his father was only a poor shoemaker. But his father was a very talented person. He tried to play with his son in the theater at home, and he tried to develop his imagination. After his father died, his mother remarried, and so as she worked all his life as a washwoman, and he earned money at laundry for another people. Hans Christian Andersen one day decided that his home is overcrowded, and he came for Copenhagen at the age of 11 years old, and he began to work at the Royal Theatre. He dreamed about a career of actor, of dancer, but unfortunately, his way was another way. And after that, he began to write stories. And one of the very prominent and influenced figure in the theater opened his talent, and he gave him scholarship. And after that, Hans Christian Andersen became a student of the university, and he developed his creativity, his stories. And what was interesting for me, most of all, that what is the secret of his stories? And I opened for myself that his stories was very understandable for people around the world, for ordinary people, for crowns, princes, for every cycle of our society, because Hans Christian Andersen used very simple language, and he can adapted this simple language, these simple things. He can adapt stories for everyone, and he in his stories he can describe things in our life in very funny way, and sometimes his description has a sarcastic manner. And what was very important for me, and what is the great meaning for me. If you have a dream in your childhood, one day your dream can be true. And so as when he was a small boy, and he dreamed about being a prince, he became the prince in the literature when he became adult. And so as when I read his biography, when he died, at his funerals was a lot of people, and this people was from the whole cycle of our society. It was a princess, and it was a lot of ordinary people who tried to say him many thanks for his creativity, and his creativity immortalized his name.
Yes, great. Really interesting kind of biopic of his life. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think I saw a program recently about Hans Christian Andersen, but I couldn't remember all the details. So yeah, very well done. Thank you for describing that and telling us about your own interest in his works. What other you mentioned a couple of his works, like the Ugly Duckling.
Mm-hmm.
What other books of his do you particularly like?
Okay, I like Snow Queen, and I think that Snow Queen, this is the popular book for my baby too. And I remember from my childhood the story, The Princess and the Pea. Do you remember the story?
Yes, of course. It's a classic.
Yes, it's a classic. And Andreas, do you remember the story, The Princess and the Pea?
Yes, I do.
Yes, and what is the most important and the most popular for me as adult person now? Do you remember the story, The New Suit of the Emperor?
Yes, I think in English we often call it the Emperor's New Clothes.
Yes. And you remember when, and this is a huge story about our society, about our how do you say, when we spoke this material a couple lessons ago, when our society, we very conform people, and only a children voice can be like a wake-up call for us. So
Yeah.
this is the meaning of the story for me.
Great. Yes, I think it's really powerful, isn't it? Reflection on society sometimes. Yes.
So
Thank
thank
you.
May
you.
I ask one question?
Yes, please do.
Did I get it right that he moved to Copenhagen when he was 11?
According to his biography, he dreamed about the career of actor, and he moved to Copenhagen, yes, when he was 11 years old. And of course, first of all, he tried to work at the theater, but he was not at the scene, at the center of attention. He did a lot of simple work, but he tried to be. He tried to be an actor, but unfortunately, he became elder, and one day his voice became broken.
Yes, his voice broke.
Yes, and he was very slim, and his figure was not well. His figure was not a good figure for actor.
Right.
Because
So he.
this must have been very tough to move to Copenhagen when as an 11-year-old child, and to make a living, to get
I
some
want to
bread.
reread my articles, and
No, I just
Andreas, thank you for your question, because I'm sorry, his father died when Hans Christian Andersen was 11, and he with help from his mother and only 12 crowns in his pocket, he left Odense for good life on 6th September and in 1819 at the age of 14. I'm sorry. So
but
Okay. So
it's still
14.
still very tough, I think.
yes.
Yes. It's still young to leave home, isn't it? To go to a big city and to try to make a life for yourself.
Yes.
Yes, right. And he's famous around the world still to this day. Yeah, very interesting. And Natasha, do you have any questions?
Just so while I was listening to Larissa, I was thinking about my childhood because I was raising with these fairy tales. But my favorite fairy tale, maybe just the first one in the rank, was Mermaid. Firstly, my mom was reading this story for myself, for me, and every time I wanted to, and I was dreaming that mermaid would be alive. so she wouldn't be changed to the foam and so I just really wanted, and I was thinking maybe just this time she would be alive. So, but anyway, that was my favorite story. I also liked others, as Larissa mentioned, and also I was raising with the fairy tale of Brothers Grimm, and that was also they were also really how to say. Sometimes I was a bit scared. Because some fairy tales of Brothers Grimm's are really a bit scared. And so, Larissa, thank you very much for this autobiography, because I didn't know any details and any things about his life. And of course, when you have, I think that when the author has and had such difficult life, he could tell something really interesting and to show us something that he couldn't be boring, just like Charles Dickens, that we see his dark novels and about dark life, about poor people, and so that was true about, especially for Charles Dickens. For me, it's like for kids how they live in the poverty in this dark life. So that's, and what is the favorite? So as you mentioned, there is a Snow King. Yes, Snow Queen is your favorite. Tanya, and you just this one is the first. Yes, as I understood.
I like Snow Queen, and as for me, I think that I like Ugly Duckling, because this is the way and this is lifestyle of Hans Christian Andersen. But my Tanya's favorite book is Snow Queen, and I read this book with her several times, and I do it with the intention to show her how to support your friends when they have difficulties in their life, not to shut the doors and not to do all your best for receiving the good results. And if he is, we speak about Kai, if he is your real friends, you should do all your best to help him. This is my intention as mother.
Oh, thank you. So, and did you read Harry Potter?
I several times I asked about Harry Potter, but I never read Harry Potter. I want to read it, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Just start to read to Tanya, and then just when I started to read Harry Potter to my son when he was 10 years old, now it's his favorite book. He read it 7 times, and he watched the movie 7 times. Yes,
Wow.
it's his favorite book, and he has original books in English, and so he's a fan of Harry Potter. And I think this is really a good story, classical story. I would think that could be classic with the author that she's alive, and so just it's really a phenomenon. Maybe just having this classical story, not because this story was written not for money, not for just to push us to buy things, accessories, and so on. It was not a commercial story to earn money. It was a true story for kids, for it's worth reading it. Yeah, I just really recommend you.
Okay, thank you. And I didn't read Harry Potter, but I was interested in the biography of Joanne Rowling. And I was informed that she is now about 55 or 53 years old, so she is still very young. And I remember that she wrote many stories, and one day she sent her stories to editors. And one of them, I don't know, 20 or 30 editors answered, I want to know the continuing of your story. And in that moment, she exclaimed, I was so happy. So this was very interesting for me. And now I want to read not only Harry Potter's, but the other her works, her other creations.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, it's really. Sorry for extending my time for.
It's okay. Are you ready to talk about your own book now? Author?
So just difficult for me to find, not to find, is to tell only about one book, and just I just found the book, and I'll send you the link. There is a very I can't say that it's only one my favorite book, but it's a Fahrenheit 451. Why just I choose this book? Because this book is about the book. Because this story is about books, about the power of books in the world. And so let me just, because I start to continue, because I continue my my speech, I have a question to you guys, for you guys. Why do we read books? What is the purpose of reading books? Why do we read books? Because this story, there is a connection, story of Fahrenheit 451.
Yes.
And so my question is, why do we read books? Why do we need to read books?
Yeah. I think to enter another world, to look at the world through other people's perspective, and to live in their eyes, especially fiction, to live through different adventures, obviously to entertain, to enjoy, but to broaden my horizons and to see new things and to discover information, and to enter into another world.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
And you guys?
As for me, this is the food for my mind, I think, and this is the way for escaping of problems in our real life.
Yes, that's a good point too. It's great escapism, isn't it? Reading.
Yes, my answer was as well to widen my horizon, and to get to know other perspectives, to things we all are concerned with.
Yes, good. How about you?
So just
why do you
about
ask?
me, yes, why I chose this story as like just my favorite book. It's one of my favorite books, because this story really about the power of books. And then can you imagine the world without books, without any books? And Bradbury, he published this story 1953. Just that can imagine that was a Cold War, 1953. Yes, and that is story. We can see how books were destroyed. That books were are banned from all areas of our life. So just there was one character, main character, Montag. It's a fireman responsible that what remains from books. So that it's not ordinary fireman that who just will should destroy books, should burn books. That's why, and for me it was a really remarkable story that why they are so scared. I mean, the government that about books, such as why they try to destroy everything. And what they provided, guys, 1953, they provided a lot of screens. So just like imagine house, so just a wife character, Montague. She's listening to the radio. She's she perceives information from the screens. Just this are around in just 3 walls. In each wall, and so you don't have screens around now. So however, he could imagine that this story, it's of course it's dystopia. It's not the real life, but how it's so close to our life. And so why government, why they were scared that to remain books, and if people will continue to read. So you mentioned a lot of things. So just to get information to why they're so really correct things. And of course, for me, it's also, let's say that for me, books, it's also the way of thinking, because while I'm reading, I'm thinking about the story. I try to compare this story, if I were this character, if I were in this situation, and so I try to maybe more imagine how I could behave. So just it's the way of thinking. It's a great way, and so that's why I try to push, not to push, I just to offer my friends and to read books that I read. And so I just try to share with them my opinion about these books, and try to not to say, hey, it's a good book. No, I try to provide characteristics and why this book was so wonderful for me. So, and when my friends just read the same book, we could discuss and we could explain, we could really find maybe the true things. And it's really, of course, it's a process of also entertaining, because that's, for me, it's like when you you can entertain yourself being alone. So about this story, so as I said, that that was. So there's this, the story raises critical questions: how to perceive one's might in society, just like so. So what is really that was important, as I just put some notes. So Montague learns that it was the apathy of the masses that gave rise to the current regime. Apathy. So just it was really
apathy, yes.
Yes, poor mindful world, and imagine how people cook only short phrases without even just sentences, only just orders. Speed up, just so poor, without reading, without expressing, without communication. So that in this book, in this story, you see that how people they don't talk to each other. That's even just the main character. He didn't communicate with his wife. Just it was so sad just to see that they don't have a connection. I mean, don't tell, just didn't talk at all. That's so sad. And this was a good end, a successful end, and I like the way how it was ended. And so I really recommend, if you didn't read this book, I highly recommend. It's not a really long story. It's about it's a short. That's not a long novel, and but anyway, it was great. It was wonderful. That's why I chosen this, because about our books, about the way of entertaining, the way of thinking, the way of maybe sometimes living. So because when I'm reading a book, I think that I'm living in a different world. So thank you, guys. I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Natalia. So who would like to ask a question?
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Would you would you describe it as a science fiction story? Because it tells about the future that was not possible at this time when it was written.
It's kind of like fiction. It's a dystopia when you just feel that it could happen, but it doesn't happen. But it's so close to our time that to think about how really our gadgets, we really discuss a lot of times about the influence of gadgets and other things that people stop to communicate, to develop themselves. They have ready answers, so they just like Google. Okay, you can find there. People stop thinking because they have these answers. And this story, yes, it's kind of dystopia. Maybe you heard, of course, also there is another popular novel, 1843, just George Orwell.
1984.
Oh, 1984, yes, 1984.
I was going to say, this reminds me when you were talking about that.
Yes, but it's about freedom. It's a more brutal story. It's more really just it's, of course, it's also interesting. It's a story just to think about catastrophe that could happen. So maybe just it's this story just to think about our life, about our customs, behavior, and so on. And like it's kind of like a fantasy, yes, like a fantastic story, but close to reality. And 1953, but it's so many years.
Similar, because that was written in 1948, I believe, by George Orwell, and that's why
yes, that was switched, and so and also we have a lot of phrases like "Brick Brother" and so many popular phrases from this book. We use it now. I just really like this story also too, but Bradbury is one of my favorite. I would put it on the first place.
Great.
Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah.
As for me, I tried to read Ray Bradbury 5 years ago at the beginning of my education English language, and I to read his stories in original books, and I didn't understand his books. But now I think after your describing the situation, I think that I have to reread these books and to find something new for myself.
Yeah, I think that you would definitely find from the first pages. Just start and read, and you will be impressed. I believe. I just really, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, I have other books. I I would of course recommend John Steinbeck because he's one of my favorite author. Because his also novels and stories are really common and so close to our life. Especially just one book I love so much. The Winter of Our Discontent. There is the phrase from Shakespeare, but there is a title of his book, The Winter of Discontent. But it's not about the winter, it's the story about money, the story about family relationship, and how people could survive in this era of consumerism. I just really love this story too, of John Steinbeck. About family, about life, about how people are really addicted to financial things, and they are really dreaming about. They think that they would be happy if they buy a new car, a new TV set, and how kids. That's really great story. I just really recommend it. Maybe there is a second book. It's really close to Red Bradbury. So just one, really, if you allow me, one phrase from this book, I just really love it so much. The quotation about money. So we will reach soon, and you who handle poverty badly will handle riches equally badly. Poverty is envious, and riches she may be a snob. Money does not change the sickness, only the symptoms. And that in this book is so many really smart things and smart. I just really recommend you. If you didn't read, it's also not a really thick story. It's not War and Peace, like yeah, it's a short story, I would say, short novel, and so you would be impressed.
Probably in your perspective, a short story, I think.
Yes, I just try. Maybe that there is about 300 or maybe 300 pages. It's not a big book. It's just not thick book. You could read it in a week and just maybe. But it's really the book that you could be deep inside and will live in this book. Yes, because we all have families, kids, and so it's also that it's so close. It will be so close that about relations, about money. That money is always not enough. There is only money and not enough money, no money. So you could find a lot of things really in this book.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you, all of you, for sharing your books and your thoughts about reading and novels and authors. I appreciate you for joining me, and I wish you a good weekend. Enjoy, keep reading, keep learning.
Thank you,
See you
David,
guys soon.
for a new
Thank
format.
you.
It was fantastic. Thank you guys for books.
Thank you all.
Recommendation.
Have a nice
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
weekend.